Good afternoon. Good night, Kathy. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good too. It's just, almost 7 days or eight before we end the year. It's
I
amazing
know
how time has passed.
this year
So
has
here
flown by. Yeah,
it has to go very fast. Uh, well, it is an exciting moment because for me, we are going to be reviewing the Universal Law 11 and 12, and we kept those two since are the ones that are maybe the most important of all the universal laws.
absolutely. Hmm.
So let's talk about the law of blessings. But just before getting into the matter, um, can you define what blessing is? Because blessing has different contexts. Like when you go to church and then you have the priest saying, I bless you, or when you say to your husband, um, I bless you, or a friend. What does blessing mean before getting into the deeper discussion of the universal law?
Well, according to what the Bible says about blessing, anytime you bless, whether you bless your food that you're eating, whether you bless a person, or whether you bless a situation that you're in, the Bible tells us that when we bless something or someone, that blessing comes back to us. So, blessing is giving yourself a blessing. Anytime you bless somebody else, it boomerangs back to you as well. Like the food that you eat. Who knew? If you bless the food before you eat it, scientists have actually proven that it increases the nutritional value of the food. So God must have been telling us something. What do you think?
I think is amazing. I think blessing, when you bless someone, is like you are sending some sort of positive energy,
Hmm.
uh, because maybe in the blessing there is an emotion uh, of gratitude, which
Yeah.
we're going to talk about that.
Hmm.
Um, but and it will be interesting what you just said, and that's why I am very curious. I am, like I said um, before, I'm coming from a scientific way of looking at the universal laws and everything that is related to spirituality. Just because there are two ways to prove things if things are real. You have the mystical, where you just believe,
Hmm.
and then you have the scientific method, which now we have the tools to prove it with the quantum physics, quantum mechanics, because with the regular way of physics, that is very extremely hard to prove spirituality, right?
Yes.
So, and when you say that has been proven scientifically, well, we have to do an analysis on that,
Hmm.
right? So we have to do an analysis if really when you bless your food, it implies that there is some the molecular changes in the food, or maybe is when you bless the food and goes to your system, there is an energy of love within that bless that made that food to be used and consumed better in your body. So I
Did you
just
ever
wanted,
know of the book called Messages from Water?
no, message from where? So, sorry, say it again.
Messages from Water.
Messages from Walter.
A
No.
scientist by the name of Dr. Emoto ran some tests. He would take a beaker of water and he would tape on the beaker something like, I love you, I bless you. And when he did that and he came back later and then he froze the water turned into the most incredibly beautiful snowflakes you have ever seen. Then he would tape something onto the beaker of water that said, I hate you, I'm going to kill you. And when he took that water and froze it, the snowflakes were brown and deformed and distorted. So he was talking about the power of blessing and the power of our words, and how we can bless our body and heal ourselves, or we can make ourselves sick with our words, just like the Messages from Water. It's a fascinating book. And the beautiful pictures of those snowflakes that he taped on the beakers, blessings, or he would play Mozart music, and these beautiful snowflakes would appear when the water was frozen. And then he would play rap music. And when he froze the water, it was brown and distorted because rap music is very low vibration. Mozart is very high vibration. They've actually found that when they play Mozart with kids taking tests, they score higher on the tests.
Okay, well, that's great. Let's jump into now, since we have done this introduction to the the particulars of these universal laws. But it's always good to have this introduction before we get into deeper understanding of the law, because we will find, and I don't blame anybody. I am not here to judge anybody, but when there are people that doesn't believe, and I respect that.
That's
So
okay.
so that's why, and I sort of understand from where they are coming from, because the when you have this academics knowledge, you tend to question everything,
Mm-hmm.
right? So in order to break the ice, it's always good to, and I think we have done a very good job of always introducing some questions, right? So let's jump into the matter.
Okie doke. When you invoke the universal law of blessings, you will usher in divine positive energy. Like I said earlier, it has been scientifically proven that blessing your food increases its nutritional value. Who knew? Blessing others not only brings them joy and abundance, but it will also bring you back the same joy and abundance. Whatever you bless somebody else with, the boomerang comes back to you too.
Yeah, just as a parenthesis, for people that are very curious about this law, and this is like a sharing moment from my side to you. When I was with Dr. Joy Dispenza in a retreat, um, we were in a meditation mode, and we were um, focusing in healing people with our thoughts. We were focusing in sending love and appreciation and blessings and all these high frequencies. Interesting enough, what Dr. Joe Dispenza said was that when we heal with our thoughts and energy, that we sort of broadcast from our uh, spirit or soul, it resonates back to us. So what
Mm-hmm.
you're saying is proven scientifically, because he was doing some testing,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a broadcast, because everybody in the same time. We were like around 500 people, and there were people that has cancer and illness. And the interesting thing is that we were broadcasting love and appreciation and gratitude and all these high vibrations while we were meditating. And we see people that were sick, that were the meditators, and some of them they were cured. And nobody knows that the person that was meditating has an illness, because they were
Mm-hmm.
not chosen to be the targets for healing,
Mm-hmm.
because they have limited capacity for people to be healed. But those that have the illness and were meditating, yeah, it was coming back to them. They were
Yes,
healing, right?
that's right.
So that makes perfect sense. So just
Mhm.
as a way of my, personal journey as far as finding the truth of how all of this blends together between our belief, which is the mystic, and the science, which is, the quantum thing. So
Yes, absolutely. Now you can bless the people in your life and your relationship with them will improve. You can bless your work and it will increase. I bear witness to that because every single day I bless my business and I thank God for the income that is coming in, and God has always taken care of us. You can bless your plants and they will grow abundantly. You can bless your body, which I do every morning, and it will maintain perfect health and vitality. I bless everything in my body. I go from the top of my head to the tip of my toes every day. It is said that if you also invoke the law of intention when directing blessings to someone, a shaft of divine light is transferred into the person you are blessing. Now, wouldn't that be wonderful?
that's wonderful. Can you sort of refresh for the people that were not in the previous webcast slash podcast?
The law
what
of
what is
intention.
the law of intention?
The law of intention is saying, I intend to bless that person. The law of intention is very, very powerful because whatever you put out to the universe that you intend, it's immediately brought back to you. So blessing somebody, it doesn't surprise me if you invoke the law of intention, that divine white light is transferred into the person you are blessing. You can actually raise your hand and point to that person you wish to bless, and you will be directing blessings to them. How about that? Now, let's talk
Yes.
about the positive law of blessing. Now, there's really no way you can invoke a negative law of blessings. All blessings create divine positive energy. So you think, who can I bless today? Right?
Absolutely. So there's nothing like negative blessing. Blessing
No,
by itself is just positive. No, it's
that's
not
exactly
the
right.
other laws that you have, the duality, right? Duality
Mhm,
means,
mhm.
is duality, is wrong,
The
right.
opposite of bless is curse.
Oh,
But
yeah.
what people don't understand, Raul, is just as it is with blessing somebody, the boomerang comes back to bless you. When you curse somebody, the boomerang comes back to curse you. And if people understood that, they wouldn't be so quick to curse somebody, right? Now, each morning I send blessings to myself first, and then to the many family members and friends I'm blessed to know, as well as my precious fur babies. It's a ritual I go through every single morning. I also bless my car each morning when I get in, thanking the universe for keeping it in such good running order despite its extended age. My car is a 2012. It's a Cadillac. I love Cadillac cars. I've always driven them. This is a CTS, a Cadillac CTS. 12 years old, only has 80,000 something miles on it, and it has been perfect. It looks like a new car, to tell you the truth. And every day when I get in the car, I bless my car and say, thank you, thank you, thank you, my precious car. I'm so, so pleased with you. I bless my bank statement and thank the universe for the abundance that is pouring in. I bless my business each morning and I thank the universe for the business that is pouring in. I actually will state the number of students that will sign up for a particular class. I never cap it. I always say this particular class will have 20 students or more. I never say just 20 students because you don't want to block the universe, And I always have the number of students or more than I blessed. It works.
Absolutely.
Now, if you're ready to remove someone from your life whose negative energy has done nothing but drag you down, you know you can also remove them from your life by saying, I bless you and I release you. Now, you must be ready to accept their removal, however, because this bless and release tactic really works.
I think that should be the way how we end a divorce when
Absolutely.
and not with hatred. And sometimes when you finish a relationship, you finish with, um, I hate you.
Yeah.
I want you, whatever.
I know.
It's a bless and release tactic, the best you can use.
Well, if you go to the next slide, I'll share what happened to me. Years ago, I was dating a man who was very negative. Now, I thought about just telling him that his negativity was bringing me down and that I wanted to end the relationship. But you know what, Raul? I got bad vibes. I wasn't sure how he would take it. I had visions of him stalking me or maybe even harming me. So I went to God in prayer. Next slide.
I had a comment into that
Okay.
about vibe and negativity. Sometimes my personal again experience has been I sort of sense good energy and bad energy. It's something that for unexplained reason I always been very sensitive to those vibrations, right? And I believe it's so important that we develop our intuition. And when you don't follow your intuition, because your intuition for me is like a sort of that is without having a technical explanation, it just you can feel that um, that's not the way to go. Whether it's a person or business opportunity or whatever circumstances, your intuition, when you develop your intuition, is sort of you sense the energy of the person or the circumstance and all that. So
Yeah.
when you're talking about the vibe, um, that's so important, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
And you said, what you are describing here, you were dating a man who was very negative. I thought about just telling him that his negative was bringing me down and that I wanted to end the relationship, but I wasn't sure how he would take it. And you had visions of him stalking me or maybe even harming me. So
Yep.
your visions are, it didn't happen, but sort of that you have this vision, right? Is that what you are intending to say here?
Absolutely.
Okay, so just
Now, when I asked God for guidance, I was told to bless him and release him. And the blessing part mellows him, and the releasing part severs our energy connection and makes him think it's his idea to move on.
yeah, yeah. And the most important thing here is that, well, let's discuss this deeper. You talk about the universal law of taking action, right?
Hmm.
And so if you are dating someone, like, let me come back to this slide, that was very negative, and you thought about just telling him that all of that,
Hmm.
and then you had visions of stalking, and then you asked God for guidance, and you were told to bless him. Um,
Bless and release.
yeah, but the point is this: were you implying that you didn't take action, like you talking to him and say, "Hey, You're a great guy, but I don't believe this is gonna work out, and therefore I finish the relationship? Or you just keep yourself quiet, and all of a sudden he calls you, say, Kathy, I'm not interested in you. Thank you. We had a great dinner, but I think it's better for us not to continue. And what was the situation? You
I
take
had
action?
listened to him talk about business associates and how he got even with them. I listened to him talk about his ex-wife and how he took care of her. And I'm beginning to think, oh my gosh, what have I gotten myself into? And this man's ego was so humongous that I knew he could never, ever accept me breaking off the relationship. It would have to come from him. But how to do that, I turned to God for guidance. And this is what God told me to do, to bless him and release him. He told me the blessing part would mellow the guy and the releasing part would sever the energy connection and make him think it's his idea to move on. And shall I tell you something else? I had a client who came to me. I'm a coach, life coach, who she and her daughter lived with a man who was abusive. It was very bad. And she knew if she tried to leave, that he said he'd kill her and her daughter. And she didn't know what to do. And because this had happened to me, I explained to her the power of love, step number one, and then the bless and release. And I said, she and her daughter had than they thought they did. I said, you're not powerless, honey. God tells me that love is the most powerful force in the universe. Wake up in the morning and bless him and send him lots of love before you go to sleep at night. Send love, 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 bless him and release him. And I'm telling you, one of two things will happen. Either he will change, which doesn't usually happen, or he will ask you to leave. So we need to figure out where you're going to get to, because it's probably going to happen. So sure enough, within the month, he came to her and he said, get the hell out of my house. I don't want to see you anymore. Just get out of here. And we'd already planned where she would be going. So her sending him love and blessing and releasing him, she was able to leave without worrying that he was going to come after her and her daughter. It worked.
That's so awesome. I think that's precisely the kind of advice that we should elaborate deeper, especially for people that are facing
Oh, I know.
divorce,
I know.
because we don't know how to break a relationship. We
Yes,
don't know, and so I think those are very valid techniques.
I agree. Now, I made this statement. I thank you for, I can't see it, cut it off, for being a part of helping me learn the lessons I needed to learn, but I don't need you anymore. I bless you and release you. I made that statement out loud. And guess what? I never heard from him again. Thank you, dear God. Here's another example of blessing and releasing. And I have to tell you, Raul, of all of the miracles that I have experienced in my life, this is right up there at the top. Now, this was years ago when I started my own home building company, and I realized that I needed a truck. I didn't have the cash to pay for one outright, and I didn't want to incur a debt. While puzzling over what to do, I remembered two people who borrowed money from me and never paid it back. Next slide. Between the two of them, they owed me about $4,400. These debts were several years old, so I knew they probably had no intention of paying me back. It made me angry that they had taken advantage of me. If they paid what they owed, I could purchase a truck for my business. I started having trouble sleeping because I kept thinking about those two people who took advantage of me. And one night, when once again I couldn't sleep, I sat up in bed, turned on the light, and said, dear God, please guide me in this situation. These two people owe me money that I need, and it makes me angry that they have no intention of paying me back. Please tell me what to do. God did respond, and what he said stunned me. He said, forgive the debt, bless the debtor, and give it to me. And I was ashamed to say, I blurted out, well, how's that going to get me a truck? We're so funny sometimes. Once again, God said, forgive the debt, bless the debtor, and give it to me. So that's what I did. I decided to take his advice, and I said out loud, okay, Lord, I forgive the debts. I bless those two debtors, and I give this to you, and thank you for your guidance. And a couple of weeks later, a fellow home builder called to ask me if I needed a truck. A woman in his church needed money for her son's medical bills and posted a notice on the church bulletin board for a truck she was selling. This man and others at the church decided to go in together and buy the truck and give it to someone who needed a truck. And my name just popped into his head.
The question about that, how is that your name popped into his head? How he knew that you were in need of that truck?
Well, he didn't. He just said that the guys got together, said, okay, we're going to buy the truck from this lady and give it to somebody. Who are we going to give it to? And they were saying, well, gee, I don't know. You know anybody that needs it? And he said, my name just popped into his head. He didn't know why. I explained that I did need a truck. So he made arrangements to get me the money to buy that truck. Get this. The woman was asking $4,400, the exact amount of debt those two people owed me. Can you believe that? I think God was trying to teach me a lesson there. What do you think?
Yeah, it's in the same. It's just such a coincidence.
Oh my gosh, I have never forgotten that. I was never so shocked in my life when he told me she was asking $4,400 for it. Thank you, dear God. You see, if we release our victimhood when somebody takes advantage of us, and if we can bless and release them, God can bring back to, remember, blessing brings it back to us. God can bring it back. But if we hold on to the victimhood, how dare they treat me like this? I'm not going to stand for this. God can't do anything.
Yeah, just to add a personal uh, experience or comments, when I have a very bad situation, and I didn't, sometimes I learned it because I was not reacting in the right way sometimes, right? When people take advantage of you, or when you have a circumstance that you believe is not fair to you, when you believe that you are into a very deep water, the first things that I suggest that you do is not take an action growth by emotions, especially negative emotions.
That's right.
A negative emotion is like anger, one, fear,
Mm-hmm.
and with fear it goes the big you fall into victimhood.
Yeah.
Right? It's a combo.
Mm-hmm.
So what I usually do is I analyze the situation calmly and try to look for solutions that will um, basically take the negative situation into a positive. And when you use the positive energy of hope and you don't fall into victimhood, is when you will see a shift,
Yep.
right? But to
Absolutely.
have that mental strength of, despite the worst situation, is so critical that we understand that there is always a way to manage it.
You know, Raul, I can remember my car breaking down at twilight on a undriven road, and I wondered, what in the world am I going to do? I started panicking. It was getting dark, and then I just stopped and remembered what God told me to say. I know that there's somebody who can help me with this, and I thank you, God, for bringing me the person. And within 5 minutes, this guy came up in his truck, pulled over to the side, asked me what was wrong, flipped up my hood, and he said, "Oh, this is what you need. Let me run and get it for you." So he ran and got the part at the parts store, came back and fixed my car and only let me pay for the part. And he said, "No, I'm not going to charge you for my time because if my wife's car broke down, I would like somebody to help her as well." Now, when I was married and in a very bad relationship, my car broke down on the expressway, pouring down rain. I mean, torrential rain. Raul, I sat there in that car for 5 hours. The rain never abated for 5 hours. Nobody stopped to help me for 5 hours because of my attitude. You see the difference? Your thoughts create your reality. I was in a bad marriage and I was in victim mode. Therefore, I attracted victimization. Before, when I knew God would take care of me, of course, within 5 minutes, somebody stopped to help me. But I was so down at that point in my life that I couldn't even do that. So I know how important it is when things are going wrong that you have to get that level of energy back up so you'll attract the positive things. And you're so
Absolutely.
right. Absolutely right.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a suggestion for all of the audience that eventually will listen to this podcast. Uh, Take it in that direction.
Yes.
Even in the darkest moments of your life, there is always a way to make it work.
Yes.
Always. There's no desperation.
Absolutely.
And I am talking by experience.
Me too.
still, still managing circumstances that are beyond my
Mhm.
control.
Yeah.
And I have two options. I get into desperation, and like those emotions will harm my health, or just observing, acknowledging that there is a challenge,
Hmm.
bless the challenge, say, okay, I know that I have a challenge, and look for a solution, right? And work. And that's when you involve the law, the universal law of action, and
Absolutely.
then and that's where your toolkits of universal laws start working, because this is like, I have this law, I have the other law, and
Hmm.
just try to combine those and make it work.
Yes,
All
sir.
right. So let's move into the law of gratitude.
My favorite one I saved for last because gratitude is the vitamin for the soul. Gratitude is the most important of all of the universal laws.
All right. So let's have an introduction conversation, because we jump into the matter. All right. What gratitude is? What how you define gratitude?
Giving thanks for all of the good things in your life, being grateful for everything in your life.
Okay. Being grateful for everything in your life. Let's elaborate more in that on that sentence. The bad and the good. You always has to be grateful that that bad circumstance teach you something that you didn't know before that occurrence happens to your life.
That's right.
That's so powerful,
Hmm.
because sometimes we didn't see it that way.
No matter how bleak your life looks, there is something that you can be grateful for. I remember when I was on the board of directors of communities and schools, and it was a dropout prevention program for teens. And at our board meeting, we'd always have one of the teams come in and share with us what he's up to and everything. And this team that came in said he wanted to join the military, but they wouldn't take him because he was on ADD drugs. So when we ended the meeting, I told him I'd take him back to the school. And on the way to the school, I said to him, you can get off of those ADD drugs if you want to. I can't do it. How could I do it? And I said, what you can do is you can spend 5 minutes in the morning in meditation and 5 minutes before you go to sleep at night. I don't know how to meditate. I said, it's very simple. You wake up and think of everything you have to be grateful for. I'm not grateful for anything. I said, you're talking to me, aren't you? You're seeing me, aren't you? You're hearing me. You're going to walk out of this car. You're going to go into the school. You're going to eat. You have a roof over your head. You have a bed to sleep in. Don't you think you have a few things to be grateful for? I guess. I said, what do you have to lose, son? You want to go in the military, don't you? So when he went into the school, I said a little prayer for him to God, and I said, please help him, dear God. Well, 4 months later, I went to the graduation. And as I was leaving, I heard somebody yelling, Miss Lewis, Miss Lewis. And I turned around and it was that young man. And he said, guess what, Miss Lewis? It worked. It worked. He said, I tried it. And every morning I thanked God for everything. And before I went to sleep, and they've taken me into the Army.
That's
So
awesome.
it got him off of the ADD drugs just simply by meditating on everything he had to be grateful for. Wonderful, huh? Okay, the most important universal law was saved until the last. The law of gratitude means giving thanks from your heart for everything in your life. The gratitude you put out is the absolute key to abundance. And as this picture says, the vibration of gratitude attracts more positive things into your life. You never need to ask God or the universe for anything because God set up a system referred to as your divine design that includes 4 areas of gifts. These include perfect health, loving relationships, creative self expression in your career, and abundance.
Let's get deeper into that because I think some of our audience will have some questions. So you said because God set up a system referred to us your divine design that includes 4 areas of gift.
Mhm.
Basically, perfect health, loving relationship, creative self-expression in your career, and abundance.
Yep.
Let's talk deep on that. What you mean by that? I mean, why you create 4 and you didn't create 7 or 10?
Actually, the mystics referred to this as an emerald green tablet that was shaped in the form of the diamond on a deck of cards. You've seen that diamond in a deck of cards. And that emerald green tablet had at each of the corners perfect health, loving relationships, creative self expression, and abundance. And if you think about it, Raul, when God spoke to me that night, he told me about this. He called it my divine design for every one of my children. And that's when I started digging and digging. And I wonder if anybody else has ever heard of the divine design. And I found a particular author that I love named John Randolph Price, one of the best authors I ever read for spiritual growth. His books, you would love his books, Raul. And in one of his books, he actually brought up the divine design and the emerald tablet. And he said, if you notice, most of the challenges in your life appear in one of these 4 corners. You're either having health problems, relationship problems, job problems, or not enough money. And he said, each of those 4 corners, you're bound to have challenges in at least one of them. And I thought that was quite true. You know, I started looking at even movie stars, and it seemed that they would have creative self expression. They were movie stars, so they had plenty of abundance. But, like, you know, who was it? Elizabeth Taylor, she had health problems and she was married 9 times, 2 out of 4.
Yeah, you know why this could be for some of the audience hard to understand, but this would be a matter of another podcast.
I have
Uh,
one.
uh,
I have a
it-
class on this very issue.
yeah,
Four corners. Yes.
let me tell you why it will be hard for some people to digest this. As you know, there are people that were born with diseases,
Hmm.
right? And so they will not have the health. Uh, you will have people that their personality doesn't allow them to be cell to work in the cell expression area.
Mm-hmm.
Not not all human beings have communication skills that allow the cell expression.
Mm-hmm.
Some people were born in this planet in a very poor family. The chances of succeeding are limited.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them will, some of the others will not be able to achieve the abundance just because they were born in a difficult, um, with difficult financial challenges, right? So that's why this could be a matter of discussion when you have people that say, hey, if this divine design maybe it's working for some human beings, but not for all the human beings, because um, when you came to planet Earth, you came with some challenges that doesn't allow you to have the health, maybe the loving relationships, or maybe the self-expression, or maybe the abundance. So again, I'm just saying because there is an explanation for what I am saying too.
Mm-hmm.
But this is not the point of this law. But I'm just saying that that requires a very interesting conversation to understand why we came to planet Earth with already challenges, right?
Well, our next topic is going to be on near-death experiences, correct?
Yeah,
Well, wait till you hear the people's comments who had a near-death experience who were going through exactly what you just talked about. And that's
yeah,
going to be another fascinating discussion.
yeah. But in the meantime, let's put it that way. But I'm just holding this just in case there are some people who
Absolutely.
will say, hey, there is something missing here. But
Hmm.
just bear with us. The important thing is that you learn the toolkit. All right, let's
Yes.
keep going.
Now, these four areas of your divine gifts are available to you through your own personal universal trust fund. This is what God told me. Now, let's say that your parents went to the bank and opened an account in your name and provided an abundance of money that you can use anytime. You access that money by entering your password. The Universal Trust Fund has already been set up for each of you as part of God's divine design. To access it, you repeat your spiritual password. You know what it is? Thank you. That's right. Whenever you express gratitude, you open the doors to your Universal Trust Fund. Now, the scientific community is waking up to the truth that everything is energy, everything. As you have learned from a review of these universal laws, like attracts like, correct? Mm-hmm. It just makes sense that when you express gratitude or say thank you're putting out positive energy. This means that what will be returned to you is more positive results. I have learned that as soon as things start going wrong, instead of dwelling on what is wrong, which only means I'm attracting more of what is wrong, I push those fear filled negative thoughts aside and start thinking of everything I must be grateful for. Mm, that is so true. Suddenly, my fears disappear, and I am so overwhelmed and filled with such joy over my many blessings. I can actually feel that shift in my energy, and my whole attitude changes. And as this says, a positive attitude will lead to positive outcomes. Now, your life will always be filled with challenges, my friends. Your challenges help make you stronger. However, if you dwell on those challenges and what's wrong with your life, guess what? They get bigger. And as the saying says, we don't grow when things are easy. We grow when we face challenges. That's why we're here. That's why we chose to be here. Learn to say, this too shall pass. And then think of everything that is right with your life. And I promise you that you will never be given a challenge you cannot overcome, ever. God told me that. He said, there is no challenge that cannot be overcome if you simply say, I know there's a solution to this problem. He said that triggers the universe when you say, and I thank you, God, or thank you, universe, for showing me the way. Now, you are meant to live a joy filled, prosperous, and fulfilling life, and it's yours for the taking if you learn to apply these 12 universal laws. And that is the end of our 12-part series.
That's so awesome that we ended with the gratitude.
Absolutely.
And I want to express my deepest gratitude, Kathy, for being in this journey with me, and the journey continues.
Mm-hmm.
God will say when we'll make a pause, or how things will evolve, right? But I don't have any doubt that next year is going to be just a very powerful year. It's going to be a
It
year of
really
blessing.
is, Raul. And you think about it, I was reading about a particular athlete who was in an automobile accident. And because of that accident, he damaged his spine. And then there was another guy who was a football player who got pounced on, and he was injured to the point that he could no longer play the game. And it's really interesting to see the lives of these two men. You've got the high road and you've got the low road. Now, the guy who was in the automobile accident could not get results from his different physical therapy trainers. So he ended up creating his own physical therapy program that was so incredibly successful that that's what he does now. He took his unfortunate accident and turned it into something positive that is helping all of these other people now. Now, the guy who was a football player, he fell into negativity. He became a drunk and a drug addict. And every time somebody talks to him, all he talks about is how it was somebody else's fault that he was where he was. But you see, like I said, we come here for challenges. It's not the challenge that makes us who we are. What is it? How we handle the challenge. We can take the high road or we can take the low road. The choice is ours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I fully agree with that.
Yes.
All right. Well, this is a time to say goodbye to the audience, and we want to thank everybody that will eventually listen to this webcast, podcast, uh, and thank you, Kathy, for being here. We will, I think, we will restart in January. We're going to prepare all of the material for this amazing topic of near-end experiences,
Yes.
and how we are going to frame those topics. I think it would be a series like this one because it's a
Mm-hmm.
very deep. Also, I've been analyzing the work that Guillermo Smelding, this Colombian mystic uh, persona, has made, and I will share with you the English version of the work, and I think it's so amazing what he has developed,
Wonderful.
and goes in tandem with the universal laws, by the way. But
Mm-hmm.
it's so amazed. I was so amazed with the work. So there are so many projects for next year. Also, um, we came with this powerless to powerful, and it's in our logo for everybody that see the video. It's on the right corner. That was an initiative that Kathy and I, uh, um, uh, we are working on taking this to help people to take them from a powerless stage to a powerful stage. And so there are many projects for next year. So and I am convinced that it will, you know, concretize in something that we will be very proud, and because we are here serving, and we are just um, applying the law of intention here, right? And so we are moving forward.
Yes, absolutely. So, Merry Christmas to everybody and Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year for everybody.
Mhm.
Love you.
Take care. Bye bye.